He's got 6 wins this year. He's got more wins than anybody else in the Cup Series, and here it is. It's going to come down to one final race, and we could have it again where a guy who's won more races than anybody else across the season could lose a title.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Hope everybody out there is off to a great week. Man, this is an interesting episode right here. Denny Hamlin. I mean, man, this guy's out there setting records right now. You got to just look at it. Tied for the top 10 all-time victory list right now. Pretty damn cool. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about different things in this aspect of this video from that 11 team when it first started out. Because Denny Hamlin, let's just say from 2005 when that team started till today, really turned that thing around. So we're going back and look at the history of that. We're also going to look at the history of Denny Hamlin. But man, what an interesting guy. You know, he's known for getting out the car, riling up the crowd and everything else with comments like this following wins.
Hey, I beat your favorite driver.
And then more recently, he was saying, hey, you know what? You better jump on because I'm doing it.
And, you know, y'all can boo me, but you can either get on the bandwagon or you can get run over by it.
You still love the booze?
Bring them all.
So it was very different to see him be emotional this past weekend and not rile up the crowd, but just kind of enjoy. You could tell he was savoring the moment in so many ways. Also, his father being sick, just an emotional time for him. And I want to get into more of that stuff too here shortly about the family aspects and things. But again, here you got to look at everything that this guy has done in the Cup Series. And first, I'm going to start out right now with just this team because this team right here started in 2005. And this is very interesting to me in so many ways because we're going to look at the history of Denny with Joe Gibbs Racing prior to this because he wasn't in the Cup Series in 2005, but starting of it anyway as a full-time driver. But Joe Gibbs Racing started the number 11 FedEx team. They had a guy that was coming up through that they thought was going to be their future star with this team. That was Jason Leffler. And Jason Leffler was, you know, he had accolades going on with him right there. 1997, 1998, 1999. He's the USAC National Midget Champion. 1998 Silver Crown Champ. And this is open wheel racing, but we were starting to see a lot of these open wheel drivers come up through, Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, things like that. So you get Jason Leffler on your side, you think you got something really cool going on here. But unfortunately for the team, it just didn't work out that way. They had an average finish of 27th with Jason in the car and were regularly outside of the top 35 in points, which at that time, you had to be inside of the top 35 to be guaranteed a starting position. And unfortunately for them, at the Coca-Cola 600 that year, they missed the race. And this was one of the things that just started the domino effect with so much. But at that point, they had 0 top 10s and only 2 laps led at that part of the season right there. So after 19 races, Joe Gibbs Racing decided to let go of Jason Leffler, who unfortunately we lost in 2013. And this in no way is to tarnish anything about him. An amazing race car driver, somebody who was missed by so many. And man, you know, it's just always hard to lose a driver in any aspect. But following his departure, they brought Terry Labonte over. And Terry came over there and got in that car, ran 5 races that season, had 1 top 5. But they also had a couple other young drivers in the stables over there that they were trying to work with. One of them was J.J. Yaley. So J.J. got in the car, went out there, ran 4 races, had a best finish of 25th. But then there's the other guy, Denny Hamlin. And Denny, on a development deal with him at that time, which, again, we're going to get more into. But Denny goes out there and gets in that car, runs 7 races, and has 3 top 10 finishes, a best of 7th, I believe, at Texas. And then went out and sat on the pole at Phoenix. And that was all Joe Gibbs Racing needed to see right there. Because at the end of the year, they announced Denny Hamlin was going to be driving that number 11 FedEx car for the 2006 season. And Denny did not disappoint. He come right out the Budweiser shootout at Daytona and won the race as a rookie. Something that wasn't expected, especially after the way that the season was for the whole race team the prior season. But that's not where it stopped with the wins. Because by Pocono that year, went out and got his first victory. Followed that up by winning Pocono again. Ended up the season finishing 3rd in points. And this is the cool stuff because he was the highest rookie in modern era in the point series. And so he's already starting out, setting records, doing stats for himself. Also the first rookie to make the chase format, which was the prior to the playoff format. So just a cool thing for him. And then you fast forward all the way to this past weekend. 60 wins with Joe Gibbs Racing. And that's interesting in so many aspects, man, because if you look at Joe Gibbs Racing, Denny Hamlin is now the all-time winningest driver at Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series. And this is a who's who of names that we got in this right here because we got Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch got 56 wins in the Cup Series with JGR. Tony Stewart, 33 wins, Joe Gibbs Racing. And Bobby Labonte with 21 wins. These are drivers that had over 20 victories for Joe Gibbs Racing. But again, you look at Bobby Labonte, 21 wins. Denny Hamlin, 60. So a big difference. What was that, 39 different wins over top of that right there? And nothing, again, taken away from Bobby Labonte because that was an impressive career of his. Then you also had drivers like Matt Kenseth. He had 15 wins. Martin Truex, 15 wins. Carl Edwards had 5 wins. Joey Logano, 2 wins. But again, Hamlin with 60 wins. But the one thing that Hamlin doesn't have is a championship. And this is something that's been lingering over him, something that's talked about for so much, and especially when you go back and look at the history again, because you got Kyle Busch, 2 championships with Joe Gibbs Racing. Tony Stewart, 2 championships with Joe Gibbs Racing. Bobby Labonte, 1 championship with Joe Gibbs Racing. So every driver in the Cup Series has had over 20 wins, has also secured a championship for him. And then you look at the other drivers in this list. Didn't get a championship with Joe Gibbs, but you got Joey Logano with multiple championships, Truex with championships, Kenseth with a championship here. So, again, is this something that's going to linger over his head? That's what I want you to, what do you think about this? We'll get to all that here in the comments here in a second. But this is very interesting. And also right now he's only 3 wins behind Kyle Busch to tying him right now. So he's in the top 10 of all-time win leaders in the NASCAR series. And that's amazing because if you look at the sport, you look at who's coming up through, it's going to be really difficult for a lot of people to achieve these type wins, to have a career that spans like 20 years like this across the Cup Series. Because I don't know. I don't see a lot of drivers going this later into their career and everything else. So it's all interesting. And again, I want your thoughts on this. But man, we got to look at Denny prior to all this. What got him to the Cup level like this? And when you take a look at things, 1988, at the age of 7, he got out there and started racing in go-karts. And by 1997, he won the WK Manufacturers Cup. And I'm going to tell you, as a former kart racer, that's not an easy task to do. But he followed that up, and age of 16, out there in a mini stock, goes out in his very first race, sits on the pole, wins the race. So a great start to his race car career. 2002, goes out in the late models, wins 10 races. People are thinking this is great. He's like, hold on. Let's go to the next year, 2003. Goes out there, wins 25 races, sets on the pole 30 times out of 36 races. That was enough right there to catch the eye of Joe Gibbs Racing. That's what got this whole ball rolling right there, because of his accomplishments prior to even getting over there to the Cup Series. So in 2004, he signed to a development deal with Joe Gibbs Racing. He goes out, he gets in the Truck Series in his debut, finishes 10th. Pretty solid for him. And he made a bunch of debuts that year. Went out in the ARCA Series at Talladega of all racetracks. Goes out there and finishes 3rd in his very first ARCA start. And then makes a start in the Xfinity Series at Darlington. Goes out there and finishes 8th in that race. So, again, we're looking at different types of racetracks, different types of cars. He's out there running the top 10, doing great. And, that just opened the doors for him in so many aspects. Again, signing that development deal with Joe Gibbs Racing in 2004 to today. Sitting here with 60 wins, and who knows how many more in the future. He said he's going to run a couple more years. But this is the other big question I have right now, because this is what's going to be wild, is he's got 6 wins this year. He's got more wins than anybody else in the Cup Series, and here it is. It's going to come down to one final race, and we could have it again where a guy who's won more races than anybody else across the season could lose a title. And that would be, man, I'm going to say that'd be disappointing in so many ways, knowing that next year it's going to change and you could have won a championship had it been this way. And that's why NASCAR's not wanting to change the format or announce the format before the end of the season. But you know everybody's going to be talking about this. And also the other aspect that I know it's going to come up because I hear this from so many different people. But if he does win the championship, I know somebody out there is going to bring up, well, he had a waiver. He didn't run all the races this year. He shouldn't be the champion because he stayed out of the race because his baby was born. And that was in Mexico City, which I don't agree with because so many other drivers have got waivers and done stuff. But this would be the second driver with Joe Gibbs Racing to win a championship who won it after getting a waiver throughout the season. So you call me crazy, but I know people will talk about it if that does happen. But anyways, what are your thoughts on all this right here? Do you think this is Denny's year? Do you think this is his year to finally get that championship? And is it going to change your opinion on him if he does? Because honestly, again, man, when you go back and look at this, he's right now one of the top 10 greatest as far as wins in NASCAR history. And you look at the names that have come through NASCAR, you cannot take away from him anything about that aspect. And he's doing this as one of the oldest drivers out there. I mean, you look at it. We don't have guys like this racing up into their 50s and stuff like that, or even, higher up into their 40s anymore. So it's interesting in so many ways to see what's going to happen the rest of this year. How many more wins can he get before he finally does hang up that helmet? Because he's going after him. He damn took his own car. I ain't going to say he took him out, but he took a win away from him a couple weeks ago, a car that he could have put his own car into the playoffs, but he's like, no, I want this win. And if you think the 61, 62, 63 aren't going to be just as eager to get them to tie or possibly surpass Kyle Busch, I'm telling you, the dude wants to do that as well. But anyways, let me know how you feel about this. And throw them comments down below, man. Love talking racing with you. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe. Above all, give this episode a like. There's some hype points or something like that now. If you see a hype button or something like that, hit that damn thing. Let's get this thing so we can talk about it. But get them comments, likes, notifications, and everything else because I appreciate talking racing with you. And, man, as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.